But the way I look at it, if you go more than 12 months,
Like this, huh? Right, folks, everybody get ready? Here it comes. Welcome. The Wednesday, May 10th, 2023, Airport Advisory Committee. We are going to call this meeting to order now at 1500 local. We'll start with pledge of allegiance. Go ahead. Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I'd like to just go around the room and just everybody say your name and what you do, and then that would give everybody an idea of who to do. Do you have any things? So, directly you know.
My name is Jorge Rubio, Deputy Director of Airport Management, and happy to be here.
Rich Martindale, and I do very little.
That's your official capacity. As little as possible.
Chase Franzen, brand new member of the committee. Happy to be here full time. I run a security department for Sharp Healthcare, pilot and flight instructor out of Montgomery.
And tail dragger pilot.
And tail dragger pilot on a couple vintage tail draggers.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm David Reed, Program Manager and Noise Officer for the airports.
Habilitation rule admin airports.
I'm Kelly Culver, Assistant GM for Air Aviation.
Hello, Kelly. Way back. How slow. Welcome.
Ray Richmond, Crown Air Aviation. Greg Santana, biologist.
Thanks, Nick.
Charlie Broadbent, I'm Port Manager at NYF.
And Schwartz, Airport Manager. All good to see you.
Richard Braun, Sierra Mesa Community Representative.
Gary List, EAA Brownfield.
Alcana, San Diego Jet Center, Brownfield.
Chuck McGill.
Thank you very much. We have, we don't have the air traffic control representative here, but, okay, do we have anybody that wants to speak that's, not on the agenda? Then is it legal for me to forego this paragraph?
I think you probably could be, maybe somebody.
Okay, so in case somebody's online, we have to keep ourselves legal. At least it's shorter than it was during COVID. So, if you are in person, please complete a speaker slip located at the entrance of the southwest entrance and provide it to Mr. Reed, Mr. Reed, a timely manner to ensure proper meeting managers. In-person testimony will conclude before virtual testimony begins. Members of the public can also join the webinar by computer, tablet, or smartphone by accessing the link which is listed online in the preamble language of the agenda. Please note that if you're watching via online, there may be a delay. Please participate via the audio on your phone and mute your TV or computer when it is your turn to speak. If you wish to speak on a particular item, wait for that item to be called and then raise your hand to speak by tapping the raise your hand icon, or if you are a call-in participant, *9 on your cell phone or landline. If you raise your hand during a non-comment period, your hand will be lowered. A quorum is now present. We have a non-agenda public comment. David?
We do have one, Sandra Stahl.
Hello, Ms. Stahl, please go ahead.
Sandra, you should be able to speak now.
Good afternoon. I am Sandra Stahl with Clean Earth for Kids. The Airports Advisory Committee continues to spread wrong information about Swift Fuel's unleaded UO94. At the April AAC meeting, one committee member wrongly said UO94 has limited availability. Now, where are you getting that wrong information, and why are you not talking directly to Swift Fuels? I personally spoke to Swift Fuels CEO Christy Acosta on Monday about UO94 availability. There is no problem with UO94 availability. Are you aware there are now 15 FBOs in California that consistently buy UO94? That puts MYL in the dark ages instead of being in the forefront of aviation. So why is it taking MYF years to figure out how to offer unleaded UO94? Other California airports don't seem to have any problem. Oxnard got their first shipment of UO94 in March. Their FBO Golden West Jet Center General Manager Priscilla Hollinger says it only took them several months to work through the logistics on how to store UL 94. Only a few months, yet taking years for NYF to start offering UL 94. There's something very wrong with this picture. And why has no one at NYF been in contact with GAMI to get G100 UL offered here in San Diego? GAMI's George Brawley announced last month at the 2023 Sun and Fun Expo that California's Reed Hillview Airport, Watsonville Airport, and Meadows Field and Bakersfield will be the first airports in the country to offer GAMI's lead-free G100 UL as early as this summer. NYF is dropping the ball at all the bases, and shame on NYF. Now, I'm sure you've all heard of the FAA's EAGLE initiative, the Government Industry Partnership of Aviation Fuel Producers, airport operators, affected communities, environmental experts. As a stakeholder, I have had the privilege of attending EAGLE meetings over the past year, and so has Mr. Rubio. Let me fill you in on something that should have been announced at the April AAC meeting because it was disclosed at the March 22nd EAGLE meeting. The universal unleaded fuel that Phillips and LyondellBasell are working on has suffered a really big setback and now has to undergo reformulation for deposit control. Puts the testing back to square one. You know, in 2021, Phillips, they promised unleaded avgas commercialization in 2025 to 2026. That's not going to be happening now with the setback of having to reformulate. It's going to be a very, very long time before either Phillips or LyondellBasell will be selling universal unleaded aviation fuel. Now, how on earth can the Airports Advisory Committee advise the mayor on anything when wrong information is given and necessary information is omitted or not up to date? Hopefully your meeting today is more factual. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Stahl. I will refer the answer to Director Rubio after the meeting is over. Do we have any other speakers? Okay, we're on to item number 4, approval of minutes. Everybody have an opportunity to read the minutes. Okay, we have a motion to accept. Seconded already. Excellent. All in favor? Approving the minutes. And who's taking us on it? Okay, good. You just give me the thumbs up when you have the count. Okay, we got the thumbs up. All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, excellent. We have approved the minutes. That motion has passed. Item number 5 is unfinished business. We do not have any unfinished items. Item number 6, we have item 6A, which is to receive and file the fiscal year 2023-2024 Airport Management Enterprise Fund proposed budget. Director Rubio, we proceed with your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In your packet, you're going to see a summary of the projects that are being proposed for fiscal year 24, and also a summary of the budget that is being proposed for fiscal year 24. I do have a presentation, and David put that up for me, but I wanted to remind everybody that the city's Dream Airport Management Team's mission statement is to maintain our airports providing access to the national air transportation system. And our vision is to provide world-renowned GA airports to a world-renowned city. Next, okay. We have 4 primary themes for our airports. 3 teams are focused on the operations and programs of our airports, as well as a lease administration team that manages the portfolio of approximately 300 agreements between Montgomery Gibbs and Brownfield. And we have a financial records management team which helps with our budgetary needs and paying for things. We do have a list of our accomplishments. These are highlights that we've seen during this year. Some of these are ongoing, but the main one is our fiscal year 23 revenue is estimated at 7.5 million at the end of the year, and that is 500,000 over that we'll be able to put into our piggy bank for projects into the future. I want to relay that we actually have been budgeting a little bit over in order to accommodate any potential tenants that move into the business park, the 3 buildings that we have over here at Gibbs. We didn't get too many that moved in, and the ones that moved in, they're actually performing their own capital improvements, and that is the reason why we realized the savings. We also were able to take some items to the city council. The biggest item being the IRG assignment that now is known as San Diego Airport for the redevelopment of Brownfield, formerly known as Metropolitan Airport. We also secured $250,000 for a sweeper here at Montgomery Gibbs with an FAA grant, and they paid for everything, right, David?
Yep.
Even an upcharge because costs kept going up. We also installed automated aircraft parking and landing vehicle mirror kiosks at both airports. So we have 2 at this airport, 2 at Brownfield. We're working out the kinks, but they are installed and we're hoping to get everything running before the end of the year. And we refurbished the retail center here at the entrance of the airport. If you remember, everything was like a older tan discolored material. The roof was looking very horrible and the signs were really faded. So we were able to fix that up for our lessees and for the users. And that also attracts more people into our airports. Looking forward, and this goes to what Ms. Sandra Stoll was saying, our priority project is to provide a retail fuel at Montgomery Gibbs. We are looking to do the groundbreaking of San Diego Airport at Brownfield. And we're also looking to upgrade the security access control system at the airport at Brown. And we're hoping to get FAA funding to pay for that as well. And last but not least, we're also looking to adopt the airport master plans for each airport during this fiscal year. Something that you haven't seen in the previous presentations has to do with the climate action plan and its highlights. The city of San Diego is taking a primary role in moving items that would help the environment. So staff is dedicating time to meet the city's climate action plan and municipal building zero emissions policy goals. Both airports, as a reminder, are powered by renewable sources of energy through the San Diego Community Power. DREAM is complying with what we call the SB 1383 compost law. So we have bins that now actually will recycle the things that can be composted. And then we would like to thank our lessees also that are working towards environmental goals, which is in this case, Crown Air is in the audience and they have 1 electric charger here at Montgomery Gibbs, and we have a Brownfield, 1 lessee that has a couple of electric aircraft dogs. So we're happy to see that the lessees are also being involved in that sense. Future highlights, we will continue to get involved in trying to design the aviation fuel unleaded tank at NYF. We will continue to dedicate staff time to meet the CAP goals. And we will do an outreach to all of our lessees to see how the new building policy for zero emissions applies to them. And as far as redevelopment, we are committed in supporting the climate action plan by having goals for mobility and supporting land uses at the airport. Now going into the numbers, you have this table in your packet, but I wanted to talk a little bit about it. So for starters, you can see that we're expecting to start fiscal year 24 with approximately $17.8 million in the balance fund, which is similar to last year, to tell you the truth. Like most businesses, we try to keep some fund as a reserve. My practice, I think I mentioned this last year, is about 6 months. So we will be healthy. And just so you know, we've been saving the money to conduct major capital projects at both airports. As you can see, the infrastructure is not really in top shape. So our team is trying to fix that. And so we have approximately $60 million in capital improvement projects within the next 5 years that are scheduled. And even though the FAA paid for most, we will have to use a lot of this funding to pay for a share, which can be between 5 and 10%. As far as, some of the things that are here, I'm going to be getting into more detail a little bit more. But, please keep in mind that we have an increase of approximately $440,000 over the last year's budget. And that the revenue is also increasing, by about 1.7 million. And that's due to many tenants moving into the airport and doing new appraisals, mostly for non-aeronautical leases. So significant budget adjustments. The first item that you see is, remember that I told you that we're getting $500,000 that's going into the fund? Well, $914,000 is what we're allocating for the commercial and retail center here at Montgomery Gibbs. We may use everything, we may not, depends on how many lessees we bring and what our share of the tenant improvements are. But not only that, the buildings are older and they need a lot of care. So we're just trying to make sure that we have enough money for that. Under the second item, repair and maintenance, that fund is allocated for maintenance of aviation or medical facilities at both airports, and it is based on historical numbers. And the reason why we're not identifying this is going to be for a ramp, this is going to be for lights, is because we actually, instead of having to explain every year that we need to do all these small projects, we're allocating $500,000 so that we can have a little more discretion internally as to how to use that money. One example is those payments that are between the hangars. So it could be used for things like that. And again, it's based on average, but we're expecting $500,000 to be dedicated to that. Now, the item about airport operations support, that is regarding airport operations assistance. We're requesting 3 positions in order for the airport to have, both airports, to have 24/7 coverage. At the moment, we have our airport operations teams that come through the day, and then we have a security company that comes at night from 9 to 6. But in the early hours of the morning until operation shows up, or in the late hours, since they go home like at 5 or 6 p.m. until 9, the airports are not taken care of. And my experience over the last 3 years is that sometimes we get calls at home and nobody is at the airport, so we have to try to scramble away from family responsibilities and go to the airport. So this would allow for us to go into shift work, so operations will be covering the times that the security company is not here. And this is especially crucial during operations. So I think, and I think this is also how many other airports operate, that telling that from experience. And I'm just trying to make sure that we follow best practices as well. The airport management support, I did mention to you that we have about $60 million of CIP projects in the pipeline. And we have basically David that's doing most of the work and myself, but we don't have anybody else who can help us move these projects along. And I can tell you that the work that David does to try to meet all of the FAA timelines versus the city timelines, which are completely different. Sometimes it's complicated and it's a lot of work. So in order for us to dedicate more time and in order to get projects done, we are hiring we're proposing to get a program coordinator. Another thing that this will do is, during the previous years, any project that has happened on the airfield that was supposed to be federally funded, construction was being funded by the FAA, but planning, it wasn't. So the FAA was paying 90%, and let's just call it 90% of $10 million, it's $9 million, right? And the extra $1 million would need to come from us. That's for the construction. Now, let's say, for example, if you have a project that's $10 million for design, the city was actually paying about $3 million to $4 million for design only, depending on what the project was. So by having somebody like this, even though it may cost us a little bit in our budget, the FAA is going to be paying more to improve the infrastructure at the airport for all of us. So that's what we're looking at. And David, I know you cannot wait to get somebody like that on board to help you. The lease management software, we do have a system that is very antiquated right now. We are requesting $125,000 to upgrade that system. It is part of the whole city's real estate portfolio. So our share is only 25% of that. The rest will be covered by the general fund. Our department name is DREAM, Department of Real Estate and Airport Management. We are airport management, we're a little smaller. The rest will be covered by the general fund that they're also asking for the same thing. And the last item that you see there, the revised revenue, it's because we were projecting the revenues were going to be much less, but this year we're actually being more realistic. We're expecting about $1.78 million of additional revenue this year. Next slide, please. Some of the numbers that you see in this spreadsheet, we don't have any say. They're non-discretionary, they're city allocated, like the non-discretionary adjustment, the salaries and benefits that are due to cost of living and other benefit items. The one that calls for the reallocation of a program manager, we do have a management analyst on staff, and we actually have had for the last year and a half, a program manager that has been taking care of the big picture finances for our airports, Nikki Chalfant. She was in one of the meetings some time ago, but he helps us with a lot of the budgetary needs. And it's similar as to what we are requesting for the list software update. She dedicates 75% of the time to real estate, the real estate side of the house, and about 25% of our side. She's been doing the job, but we just needed to make sure that she was properly being compensated for the time that she dedicated to each specific area. So her allocation is 25% of the work, or 0.25, which is the $47,000. The one-time addition and annualization, those are numbers that we asked in the previous budget, and they just get canceled out basically if they don't get used. So that's really a number that's non-existent per se. Airport capital improvements. In the packet, I put a lot of the capital improvements that we're doing, I put a list there. But for the purposes of the fiscal year 24 budget, we are requesting allocation for two items. One is the NYF terminal apron rehabilitation, which is in front of us, where the cones are. We haven't had too much of a good experience with larger aircraft. Our payments are deteriorated, so we're asking the FAA for funding. They have agreed that they could probably fund it, but a lot of that money needs to come from our coffers first, and then we get reimbursed by them. So we're requesting an allocation of $3.1 million for that, and that covers design and construction, and we're looking to leave that amount like that. Now, for brownfield, we have the runway 8 right at 26 rehabilitation and a couple of taxiways, and we're also doing the realignment of one of the taxiways, and that project is about $6.9 million, and that's the cost for design and construction. Now, I do want to let you know that during this process, we are allocating those $6.9 million, but we're actually going to be appropriating about $5 million that will only cover the cost of design this year, so that we can have more money freed up in our coffers. And that is that is because we're going to be doing design this year, and construction will happen in year 25. In the next slide, you're going to see where those projects are going to be taking place. And I'll be more than happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Director Rubio. I'd like to keep the questions to the AAC to begin with, and then we'll open up to public comment. Does anybody on the committee have questions? Chuck,
When you did a cost benefit analysis of having operations people at both airports all night long compared to night watchmen, how did that come out? We have very few operations at night. Both airports.
So I haven't done it at this airport specifically. I've done it at other airports. I've actually done airport operations at night, so I have many years of experience doing that. And I know that at night, things don't typically happen, but when they do, everybody freaks out because nobody's available. And that's the situation. So I know that at least at one point, there was an incident at night that we didn't know it even happened. We showed up the following morning and there was chaos. So I think that in order to preserve the safety of the operation, it is important to have somebody at night. I don't necessarily think it needs to be somebody from airport operations. So I think we will keep the contract going for the patrols at night. And they will contact the airport managers or myself if something happens at night, so that we can respond. But during the daylight hours, basically from 6 a.m., that's when we want somebody from airport operations, so that they can come over and do the airfield inspection, just make sure that there's no fog, that there's no animals dead on the runway, things of that nature, you know? Instead of doing it at 8 or 9 a.m. So that way everything is clear for anybody. And at night also, when you're doing inspection, what is happening right now is we're doing inspections, we're turning the lights on, but sometimes we miss obstruction lights, for example, that we don't control. We can call the air traffic control tower to turn the lights on for the airfield, but we don't see anything else that is working or not working. And that is one of the concerns that we have. So we will be able to do the inspection at night and just make sure that night operations are also involved.
But certainly, see the advantage of having three, having multiple shifts covered at night on the occasion when something happens. Is there anything in your plan to utilize those personnel that are here working late at night to do something else productive, but rather than just sit around and wait? I'm curious, they thought of that.
Well, there's the airport operations classification, not only this airport, but many airports varies. And you're obviously expecting that whoever is working that shift is motivated enough that they can continue to do other work that is productive. So in our situation, our staff, they do billing, they still do all of the vehicle billing, they do landing fees, they respond to the public, and some of it involves computer work. But that's not the only thing that we expect for them to do. But if they want to get educated or catch up on training, things of that nature, read advisory circulars, this guy over here read tons of advisory circulars during that time, I'll tell you that. And that helps us educate our staff on things that should be going out on our airfield. We can learn more about signage, we can learn more about emergency response, the incident command system. It just provides us with a much better opportunity. And one of the things that I forgot to mention, and forgive me about that, is the fact that when we get those shifts covered, you would allow for, let's just say somebody works 5 days, somebody would be able to work 3 days at one airport and 2 days at the other airport. So they're cross-trained. Meaning if somebody calls out at one airport, and somebody else can come in to cover for those shifts. Right now, we're not able to do that because even though we are a city entity, some of the processes at both airports are a little bit different. If you've seen one airport, you've seen one airport. That's what they say. And we're just trying to make sure that we can cross-train them so that we can have the benefit as well of not having so many people fatigue and not being able to cover some of the shifts that may not be covered otherwise. Anybody else?
Chase.
If the bulk of the kind of need for 3 additional folks for ops is to cover a small amount of time between when the normal full-time ops staff leave and the night security come on, just as an idea, maybe there's an opportunity to do like an on-call rotation where you pay folks a little bit more to be able to respond to, the oh crap event that happens when folks aren't on the site. Just thinking that might be cheaper than 216,000, but still give that coverage. Admittedly, it wouldn't be additional people that would be able to cross-train and be at both entities. But if the bulk of the worry is coverage for off hours, I would think on-call could kind of meet that need.
So we have looked at on-call, and what I can tell you is, unfortunately, the city processes don't really allow for that type of on-call. Our on-call process, if I assign somebody, they're only good there for 30 days, and eventually it gets turned into a full-time position anyway. So we looked at it. I tried to do it initially. It didn't seem that it was going to work and just based on the fact that, we want to cross-utilize people at both airports, I think it just makes it a little bit better for the operation itself.
Chase, don't apply common sense and logic to a lot of what the city does.
Fair enough.
Anybody else? Were we supposed to have that packet in our packet? The slide?
We can provide it to you, but, it's,
If I'm not missing it, then if it wasn't. Okay, never mind that, then, and David, the FAA does no planning at all, they just give you money, right? They say, here's the money, you guys run with it, you're like, great, I have to do all the planning, correct?
For the planning of the projects, we are responsible for that. What the FAA likes to see is shovel-ready projects in order to qualify for funding.
So you have to do all the planning, then they give you some of the money, and then the city matches the rest of the money, and then you can go ahead with the project. Maybe they give you the money, so you can do all the planning.
In some
first.
sense, we
Okay.
essentially pay for the planning up front with our contractors, make sure the contract is done via the FAA contracting standards, meeting, all their rules and regulations. And we work with the FAA during the design process to get their concurrence on the design to make sure it meets those FAA standards. Once we have a qualified design, then they may sign off on the design and say it qualifies for funding. And then we'll then apply for the grant at that time. And once we've kind of paid out for the entire grant, or not the entire grant, the entire design cost, we will then draw down from the grant that if we get to reimburse ourselves for those costs.
Thank you.
And as Jorge said, that's something that the city hasn't done in the past or been able to do in the past, and we're looking to correct in a sense and better benefit the city and our airports.
What about the funding for Caltrans?
That's a little bit different. We've talked to Caltrans regarding the cost of design. Construction is not so much of an issue. Typically in the past, most airports don't qualify for funding and design. I'm trying to recall the exact reasons they told us. I know it has to do with their federal calendar. I think that was the main reason.
Once you have started the project, then the FAA has a deadline and the Caltrans has a different deadline. So sometimes what you're doing is you're trying to go after the bigger pot of money, and in the end, you end up missing whatever Caltrans is giving you because you're trying to do that. And we had a meeting with Caltrans, when was it, about a month and a half, 2 months ago?
Roughly about
And
that.
that's basically what happened.
Well, when we get Caltrans money, what percentage of the project is used?
5%,
That could be a lot of money. That's $3 million.
absolutely. Especially if we get the FAA 90, Caltrans 5, then we just have to pay 5. It's a huge benefit for us. And we've had that discussion with Caltrans. I think they're trying to see what they can do to rectify that, because that's been an issue not just for our airports, but all California airports. So they're working on it, and we're trying to push them to see what we can do and provide any information.
You're talking to them, and you know who they are, and who we are, and you have a phone number and email address and all that, okay?
Exactly.
I didn't.
No,
Yeah.
we're keeping those lines of
Yeah.
communication open to seeing what we can do to eventually qualify without compromising our FAA funding, which is the larger portion of the pot.
Thank you. Do we have any public comment?
Good.
Oh, sorry.
One more. We're talking about the money and where it comes from, what it's used for. What about the California state contributing to the unleaded fuel issue out here?
I would let Jorge speak to that, and then we do have one public comment online.
That is a different conversation, I'll tell you that. So California has been non-compliant with the federal regulation regarding the use of taxes on fuel. My understanding is that California has been using those monies that were supposed to go towards aviation, towards other uses. And they were actually being investigated by the FAA, and I know they've had multiple conversations about fixing that. I know there's other states that have been able to resolve that or getting to some sort of agreement with the FAA. I don't think California has done that yet, but based on that specific fact, they haven't assisted much into trying to help the unleaded fuel issue.
Yeah, just quick thing about that is, they identified that a few years ago, the state of California is illegally siphoning airport funds away from other programs.
Your public comment?
Yes, with Sandra Stahl.
Welcome back, Ms. Stahl.
Ms. Stahl, you should be okay, wait, sorry, just a second. Yeah, you should be good to speak now.
Yeah, I do apologize. I forgot to lower my hand. Excuse me. I have no public comment on this.
Oh, thank you.
While I just want to address Ms. Stahl's concern that we all care very deeply about getting this unleaded fuel tank in. And if there's anything that the AEC can do, we will do it. We're a volunteer committee. We have no power. We can do everything we can, but other than just go raw Rubio. Okay, so I think that's it for new business, correct? Do we have to move to approve the budget?
Oh, you can move it to receive and file.
Okay, so the exact motion would be received and filed. We have a motion to receive and file the budget.
So made.
So maybe we have a second.
Second.
All right, got it. All in favor, of receiving and filing, motion is stated. Count, okay, all opposed? Any abstentions? The motion to receive and file budget has been passed. All right, we have informational items next. Item number 7, please. Do we have any informational items or public comment on informational items?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at our airport managers right now. Andy, if you would like to go first. Andy, the airport manager.
Good afternoon, I just have a couple things to report on. Last month, we had 8,099 operations. That was down 5% from the same month last year. We currently have a mow that's happening on the field. Caroline is conducting a mow. Moving rather slowly. It usually takes them about 4 to 5 weeks to get that completed, with about 888% there. We're also still working on some working with Neil Electric, troubleshooting some signs that are out down there. We've been working on that for like the last month or so, so we'll continue to work on that. One of the other things I wanted to mention, Ray mentioned some of the things that we could do that night. One of the things that we commonly do is we have the marking go be getting refreshed here fairly soon. Typically, that's something where we have to do it very early in the morning. For us, it's the big runway, so that's the runway we don't like to keep down, we can avoid it. So that's one of those things where we'll probably be having a contract come out as early as we can get that. Typically, that's as early as we can use early as 4 o'clock in the morning. So that's one of those things that we routinely do yearly. It's a project that hasn't happened. So also some routine maintenance that typically happens during the day. You don't see us do, which is a good thing, I guess. We're still in it. We'll get it done. Without the guys on us, but those are the kind of things we can do on the more important, bigger runways that more travel. And then also we're doing currently conducting some Rockland patchwork on our own taxiways and runways. And then also we're currently still working on getting the GM32 and foot operator 1. I think we're just going to start. So I have. Questions?
Thank you, Andy. Now let's go with Charles and Edmund, the manager for the camp.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. There were over 24,000 aircraft operations in April. And we are working with Public Works Contracting Department on the minor construction project for the Marigold Hangar taxi lanes asphalt repair. We're trying to move that through as we do move it through kind of we uncover more processes that we need to follow, but we're definitely working on that and hope to get it done very soon. Some of the projections I know in the past, I've said, it's going to be next month, it's going to be next month. I apologize for that. We're working on it as fast as we can. And some of those processes just take longer than expected, but we're working on getting that asphalt repaired there. right now, the SDFP helicopters are parked over on taxiway Charlie. The reason why is because they're working on the FAA parking lot. It's really close to where the very expensive helicopters park, and so we're trying to put them out of harm's way on the taxiway. The pavement should go in next week, is what I hear. So they'll be there probably until next week. And then finally, the gate one operator and security system was all installed and it's working perfectly over there at gate one over off of Potter's. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Is there any timeline yet for driving taxiway Charlie?
Those will probably be wrapped into the 2-8 left rehabilitation project, and that is scheduled for 2025, I believe.
Roughly.
To be honest, Charlie, I can't. Something needs to be done. At least interim. We're gonna have more planes damaged. Maybe it's coming like that.
It's pretty bad. Yeah, if you're in, next time you do your report, just go between the runways on Charlie and look down. Yeah, I'm aware of the condition, when we do our inspections, we do go through that area. We can look into seeing if there's a way to, use capital improvement money or, some form of our budget to do it before the project. We can look into it at this point. I'm not sure how we would fund that or get it done, but we would definitely look into it and see if there's a way to do that.
If I can just add just a little bit of clarification, we're trying to be mindful of the type of maintenance that we can do to that, because if we do like a grind and overlay, it wouldn't qualify for any FAA funding until 3 years later. So it may miss out on funding for the full rehabilitation. So we're gonna look at, as Charlie said, some new processes that are coming to light. We're gonna be looking at what type of contractor we could use and what type of maintenance we can kind of do that as what's considered a minor repair, which would still qualify for funding. The city has their public works division that we can possibly contract some type of small repair in order to make it a little bit more user friendly in a sense to mitigate some of those issues. There's also the possibility of some job contractors that we might be able to utilize. We're still having those discussions with Public Works and to see how we could best utilize that in our funds in order to address the issue. We understand the concern and the condition and
I think it is some sort of temporary.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you know how much a propeller costs?
probably 8,000.
Yeah, our last one cost $12,000.
Yeah.
And
I just don't want to prepare it for almost $6,000.
And if we say to the tower, unable to use Charlie, that's gonna seriously impact the operations of the airport. Joel isn't here, but I could just see him fainting and say, hey, all the pilots are gonna say unable Charlie.
No,
Dave and I are ready to climb over the fence with a bucket of Home Depot slurries here some night, and because it's bad.
absolutely. We are sensitive and aware of the concern, and we're going to be trying to move to address that as soon as we can. But we're trying to navigate it the best and proper way.
Yeah, I know you guys are up against a lot of bureaucratic hurdles, and I respect that, but there are things that have to do with safety and of operations. Like pretend your loved one is in an aircraft behind the aircraft on Charlie when it throws a piece of fog.
Absolutely.
I mean, that those rocks are the size of 50 caliber bullets. I'm ready to change the name of the variable to FOD farm until it gets fixed.
Absolutely. And we shared those concerns with the Public Works regarding that particular project, and we will also with Charlie.
And having said that, you guys are the most responsive city employees I've ever worked with. I don't want you to take it personally when we lean on you, but I know you're up against the bureaucratic hurdles, but if there's anything we can do, if you want us to call the city council, if you want us to send a petition around, if you want us to hold a protest, if you want, whatever you want us to do, a free lunch for, we will do it.
We definitely thank you for that, and we don't take it personally. Just understand that we are fighting for you to try and get this work done as quickly as possible. It'll make everyone's life easier, ours included.
Thank you.
And I echo Tom's comments, but we're not trying. One other related issue, X-Way Hotel, just west of Juliet. There's a pothole that was patched. It looked like the worst guys in Public Works. So the worst patch I've ever seen. Take a look at that and see if there's something there.
Yeah, we're looking to address that. A lot of times with those quick repairs, we use just a flow mix and it's not a. Where you're bringing in a steamroller and grading it or like, you know, making it so it's as level and flat as possible. So that's definitely something, we've got a note for that, we're aware of it, we're looking to actually, you know, that's a section of hotel that we'd like to repair as soon as possible. And
And it might be just as simple as redoing the patch.
yeah, they are scheduling time to get out there. Maintenance crew that's on their list to do, so.
How big is the pothole?
Yeah, it's kind of an area where yeah.
It's hard to go down the ground and use that Rockland stuff, and Rockland also has an asphalt one that I use personally at home. That stuff, I mean, cost you $1,000 to buy the materials, but you can totally do it yourself and it would be like rock solid.
Yeah, that's what we have actually, but we have a whole pallet of it.
Yeah.
So use it.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what we use it over, it's
Rockland stuff doesn't deteriorate, that stuff's that it may deteriorate around it, but the Rockland's like pretty better.
right, yeah, that's sometimes what we run into is that, you know, as the pavement around the repair also starts degrading and there's groundwater that gets, in there, basically, the Rockland is in place, but the area around it is starting to fail, and so that's, yeah, but we're definitely gonna get out there with the Rockland maintenance crew, get that patched as best as possible.
Thank you, Charlie.
Sure.
We'll let you
Thank you.
get out of the spotlight.
All right, thank you.
What I wanna say is, please know that we're fighting for you and trying to get all these things accomplished. As well, as David said, we have new processes that were thrown at us when we were just getting ready to do the work between the hangars. So we're understanding those and trying to navigate to see if we can deliver projects faster. But I just have a few updates for you. The first one is regarding the San Diego Airport project at Brownfield. We're still working with the city attorney's office on the repossession of the Avery Depot. Those are the junkyards on the north side. We are waiting for, that went to trial. We won, but we're waiting for the judge to give us a written notice that happened, and that hasn't happened yet. So we're standing by. And at this airport, we're working on drafting the San Diego Community College lease. We're waiting for a finalized appraisal. And what we're requesting is that the building be painted and refurbished, and that asphalt be fixed in front of the hangar so that it looks newer and better. The same thing with the Sorby hangar, just north of that. In regards to corporate helicopters, we're working on they are working on the NEPA documents so that they can submit to the FAA. And they have submitted some plans to DSD for permits. We may need a lease amendment because some changes may require it. So we're working with corporate helicopters on that. Regarding the assignment of the hotel, that is still in the works, and we're hoping to get that done before the end of the month, so before the end of May. That is happening. At the Montgomery field office, we've talked a lot about the RFP for services for a property management company. We're working on the final details, so that should be hitting the streets fairly soon. Hopefully within the next 30 days. And we can probably get somebody who can help us manage that area. And Thurman requested that I say this, there are currently 3 tie downs available at City Lot A. And you can contact them.
Yeah, we're holding them right now because we're gonna be doing a bunch of electrical work in the hangars and the guys need a place to pull their planes out while they're working inside, because we will allow them to look inside the plane in the hangar. We have actually 2 of them, one of them spoke.
How many total hangars is that area?
36.
36, okay, so it's like 10 grand a hangar for the electrical. Right, 400,000 is for the electrical.
It's more than that.
Yeah, because we're only doing one section right now.
Oh, yeah, small section.
Oh, I thought that was a reasonable cost.
You know, the explosive proof, I would say material is really expensive.
Okay. So it'll probably be more like 1.2 million.
That was the approximate, cost. We're thinking that we're probably gonna be able to get it for less, but we don't know for what yet.
Chuck and I'll do it for you.
No, you do, you do it. But that's, my report. Any questions?
All right, any public comment on the staff reports? And unfortunately, we don't have Joel from the Air Traffic Control Tower here, but I can tell you that we are hearing some voices on the radio, and they also be extremely confident on their game. I just want to say again, how incredible that team is up there. They do such a great job. Do we have any other reports that we need to talk about? No other committee reports? Moving on to committee comments. One last chance for committee comments.
Dave, for just one last one, and just throw it out, I'd like to maybe have an answer next month. Both from Crown Air and the city, taxway Juliet, mobile line out there, it's almost impossible to see it. It's so faded. It's gonna. It's becoming an issue, but I've received several complaints. I saw it firsthand, there's a currency. I can barely see some of the excavator. So.
So you have a quote to redo all the striping up on that whole down area.
Okay, well, Juliet, you know, part of that's the city's.
Yeah, but where it's Crown Air.
Yeah, you know, the intersection goes home, it's impossible to see.
All right, thank you. With that, I am at my favorite number on the agenda, which is number 9. We are adjourned.